Hello again and welcome to the Solid Signal podcast for the week February 10th, 2014. If this podcast sounds just slightly different, that's because we've moved out of our studio location at our West Coast Operations Center due to a little bit of renovation that's taking place this week. It's just going to get better and better here at Solid Signal, but in the meantime, we've had to relocate to an undisclosed location, and it might affect the acoustics of this podcast, which, to be truthful, are not prime yet. That's part of what these renovations are all about. I've got a bit of a treat for you this week, at least it's a treat for me. It's our first ever phone interview at the Solid Signal podcast. This is the first time in our relatively short history that we've actually gotten somebody to agree to be interviewed on the Solid Signal podcast, so woohoo for us. Very exciting, and it also is going to mean a little bit more audio production to try to bring the quality of that up. The interview was conducted using Google's voice technology, which is okay, but definitely kind of telephone quality. Doing the best we can on that, but the subject matter is just so compelling that I wanted to bring it to you as quickly as possible, and it'll be a little while before I get to go down to Wilson's top secret facility just northwest of Las Vegas, or is it northeast? Who knows? This week, Wilson Electronics is coming out with its whole new revised line of cell boosters, all of which meet the new March guidelines for cell booster technology. They're going to be completely repackaged. In some cases, they look a little bit different. And the best thing for consumers is that they are far more consumer-friendly than they ever were. Every Wilson booster will come with the proper antenna, both outdoor and indoor, and will be packaged in such a way that it'll be easier for you to install them. And I'm talking, of course, about the residential boosters. If you're a commercial customer, we've got a full line of stuff way up higher than that. But I'm talking about your average folks who just aren't getting great reception indoors and want the best booster. The big news from Wilson is the introduction of their DT4G booster, which is the first booster in the $400 price range to boost voice and data, including LTE. It's definitely enough for 2 rooms of any size, it's enough for a small warehouse, and it could be enough for you. I got an interview with Chris Rutherford, the VP of Sales and Marketing, who is kind enough to give me a few moments to talk about the DT4G. I was super impressed by it to begin with, and what Chris had to say was even more impressive. Let's listen in.
Well, the latest product that we've got coming out for you is our DT4G. It is an in-home or office or apartment 4G multi-band signal booster.
That's amazing. Isn't it true that up until very recently you had to spend about $1,000 for that capability?
That is correct. This is the first, to my knowledge, the first quint or 5 band. It will cover all the full spectrum of the 5 bands, allowing us to do 4G on any carrier.
Amazing. And people can install this themselves?
They can install this themselves, or if they prefer, they could go through one of our certified installers and have it done for them. Unbelievable, just fantastic. And of course, you know that Solid Signal is one of your certified installers, so we're happy to take care of that for you too. So, yes.
Let me ask you though, so why would somebody want a 5-band booster? I mean, why wouldn't they just want the booster for the one service that they have?
Well, that's a really good question. It really comes down to ease of use. I mean, as cell phone use has become more and more ubiquitous, it's not necessarily true that everyone has the same carrier. You could have children that are on Sprint. You could be on AT&T. They're away at college. Your friends could come into your home. They could be on a different carrier. So it just makes it easier for everyone in the home to be able to enjoy cellular service.
And how big of an area can you cover with this booster?
Well, it really depends a lot upon what the building is made out of, where your signal is. Is it brick between the walls? Are the walls lath and plaster? Are they drywall? But typically what we're saying is on average, and it will vary, is 2 to 3 rooms.
So a decent part of your average size house.
Yeah, and also keep in mind, it's rare that you have a poor signal throughout your entire home. Normally it's going to be, the left side of the house or the basement or my office or something like that where there's a bad signal for some reason. So, this will augment the signal in that area of the home where you have poor reception.
And do people have to get some sort of special license for the government from this?
That is part of the new FCC regulations. What they are going to require is for you to simply register the booster. It just says, hey, I've got a booster, and they know you've got it. There's nothing else to it. And then if something were to, for some reason, happen, where the booster were to have a problem, which is exceedingly, exceedingly rare, they would know where it was coming from. They could contact you and say, hey, could you turn that off? That's all it is.
Okay, so it's not like people have to take a test or anything.
No, nothing at all. It's just, I got a booster, this is the booster, that's it, you're done.
And we get a lot of questions about cell boosters, and one of the ones that's most common is a cell booster going to let people listen to the conversations that I have? Is it going to make it easier for people to spy on me? Is this going to cause that kind of problem?
Absolutely not. The only thing that a cell phone booster does is it takes the signal that's coming to your house and amplifies it for your phone. It does nothing else. It doesn't make it any easier. It just makes it easier for your phone to communicate with the cell tower, but it doesn't spread your information, your voice, or your data out. It just makes it an easier tunnel.
That makes sense. So I have one last question for you, and I thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And that's, will this booster work with most carriers out there? I know there will be one or two, but let me ask you, are there any major nationwide carriers that this booster will not help with?
No, it will work with all the major carriers.
Once again, I want to thank Chris Rutherford from Wilson Electronics for agreeing to that interview and putting up with our somewhat primitive technology. For that, I promise you it will get better. The big takeaway here is that all of Wilson's products are completely compliant with the new cell booster rules, but unfortunately, if you buy a new one, you are going to have to register it with your carrier. They can't say no unless they can prove that your booster is going to cause some sort of problem, which, to be honest with you, it's very, very unlikely. But you do have to register it. Take a look for Wilson Electronics products at Solid Signal. I'm going to pop up something on the screen for those of you who are watching on YouTube so that you can see all the new Wilson products as they show up. In the meantime, that'll about do it for us here at the Solid Signal podcast. This was a little bit longer one this week, and for that, I apologize, but I think you'll agree that it was worth it. See you next time.